Today I'm in the workshop cleaning up a few of these mooring buoys. You can see they're encrusted with barnacles and the like, but they will clean up, and with some bleach and a cautious pad will clean up like new. I recently found these only yesterday, and I'm getting quite a collection now. More and more am I finding boat related stuff, mooring buoys, fenders, oars, boat hooks, all this type of stuff. And well, why is that then? Well, it's change of circumstances. For those who sort of regularly watch sort of what I do, you know I'm into boating, and at one time I had a Colvick, and then I had a Mitchell, Doris. Well, I've sold Doris. I needed the funds to finance another project. You can probably guess which one it was. But I'm not without a boat. I've got a small open, 15-foot open boat, fiberglass open boat, and it's just powered by a Seagull Sentry clutch model outboard, and I go miles in this. And so I've scaled down. I won't be doing any more winter fishing because I haven't got cover and so forth, but I'm getting on now, and so I'm just gonna go for the bass in the summer, which is when they're about. Anyway, it transpires that my catch rate is in actual fact gone up, because I'm not going out in, because it's not such a seaworthy boat, in any distance and bad weather, and to get away from all the crowds and idiots, I tend to go up the little backwaters. Well, with a small open boat that draws very little water, I can get way up the little rills and estuaries that a big boat would be frightened to do. And I'm quite convinced there's some nice big fish up there. Anyway, as I say, I've done quite well recently and had a really nice bass supper last night. Went down well with half a bottle of wine. But I'm averaging 2 or 3 of these every time I go out, and so I clean them up and I put them on eBay, and I'm dead certain some of them get sold more than once. Oh dear, oh dear. But I've got it down to a bit of a fine art, because I work out which are the highest tides of the week, and then I remember in which direction the wind was blowing on that high tide, and I head down creeks and rills in that direction. And these are often on the sort of quite close in. As I say, larger boats can't get in to get them, but if I go aground, just simply raise the outboard, jump over the side, push off and row away. So I'm getting quite a collection of these. Anyway, I'll do this later. So that's the current boat situation. I've got less maintenance, less travelling costs. In actual fact, selling these pays for the fuel and pays for me bait, so all in all it's worked out quite well. I haven't got a very good anchor on the boat. It's just a grapnel with a few metres of chain. It was a bit of a blow, I tend to drag, so I thought, well, I'll have to get an anchor, and they're not cheap. And I've looked on eBay and all the usual things, and I don't know where they get these silly prices from, honestly. Anyway, I mentioned this to a friend, a colleague. Chuck this out of the way. And he says, I've got one you can have, and he brought me this one. Now this is one he made up. It's on the Danforth principle, and I thought he'd made it so well. It's a simple design, but I was so impressed I thought I would show you. And I've taken a few measurements for those who want plans and goodness knows what. But you don't need plans, it's a straightforward fabrication job. If you have means of cutting steel, bending, or getting someone to do it for you, I've given you the measurements so you can make this up. This angle wants to be ideally, from that, ideally about 43 degrees. And that's determined how far it comes into this cheek. Anyway, I've given you these dimensions. You might like to take note of the order of construction. This main rod is welded to the main stock, I think you call that. Then two packing pieces are put in to take up the space here. It's not critical. After which, these side pieces, these pieces, and all pieces are identical. That's identical to that, that's identical to that, that's identical to that. So it's very simple. So this is assembled, then that is put on, and then last of all is the blades put on. If you don't do it in that order, you won't be able to assemble it. Anyway, I thought that was rather nice. I'll see if I can zoom in a bit. You can see the construction. And there's the underneath, if that helps. Okay. It's a bit grotty. There we go. But I said that in the beginning that the cross piece is welded to the stock. Well, of course it isn't. I realise that slip of the tongue there, it's got to rotate, of course. Other than that, follow the instructions. Okay then, I'll carry on waffling. That should annoy a few. Right, look at this little fella. Thought I'd show you him. We used to sell these at one time. It's cast iron, okay, it's an art casting, grey casting. Probably done in a green sand mould. You can tell that it's a two-part mould. If you follow the fettling marks, it goes right the way across, down here, that arm, and down here, and obviously cut off from the bottom. It's quite a nice little casting, sort of a doorstop come paperweight. It's very, very heavy. The video doesn't show that. Anyway, we used to sell these at one time. We produced sort of wrought ironwork and craft work, and there was a foundry in the south of England that sold these. They were quite cheap at the time, and as a little gift for Christmas we used to sell them. And yeah, the period's about 1780 by the dress, and at first I thought something like Mr. Pickwick or something similar. It's that period. And then my wife points out, no, he's got a curate's hat on, and the book probably is a Bible he's carrying. And this little fella is the Reverend Morton, William Morton. And he was clergy of Whitton Hall in southern England. Anyway, there's a foundry there, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, I just said it, that produce these, but they're not a foundry, they're a non-foundry foundry, for those in the trade who know what I'm on about. They don't actually produce their own castings, i.e. they're a middleman. But I dealt with them for many years, and very pleased with their results, and then for, well, I'm going back 30-40 years. Anyway, I've still got a few of these left if anyone wants one. I did contact them for some details, and they said they've got a few left, and if anyone was interested, they'd post them one for 25 quid, including postage, anywhere in the UK, which I thought was sort of interesting. So if you want to grab one, you can. Anyway, the Reverend Morton. So what about him? Well, he, as I say, he was the clergy of Whitton Hall and in Winchester, and he was a right character. He was a man of the cloth, but he was a drunkard, You can tell that by the belly. And if he was in colour, he'd have a really raspberry red nose, you know, or strawberry nose, you know. Anyway, he was a drunkard and he was hardly a man of the cloth. He liked cruel sports. He was into cockfighting, dog fighting, bear baiting and all this sort of thing. And he was once convicted for poaching with a shotgun and dogs on Lord of the Manor's estate, and he was fined £5. Now don't forget, £5 in 1791 was an awful lot of money. Anyway, he was a right rogue. There's history to be had. I can put it up if anyone's interested. Anyway, I'm interested in casting, and here, look, along the shoulder you can see the cast line. It's quite well made. I like any of these sort of things, and it has something you can talk about. I gave one of these to the guy that done some painting for me, so you know he's talented, but his talents didn't rest there. Anyway, he'd take one of these, or I gave him one of these, and he used a paint, and this here is acrylic paint. So I'll just put some acrylic paint on a bit of, just to demonstrate what I'm trying to say. I won't mark this one because that's rather nice and I don't want to do that. But I'll put a little bit of paint on there, and ooh, if I should put it on there, look, you can see the effect I'm getting, right? I've just bronzed that. There's a piece of bronze, okay? So he took that and he bronzed that all over, and he allowed it to dry for a couple of days, and then he mixed up a sort of a the stuff is, you can remix all this stuff. He mixed up some green and some brown and some black, and didn't mix it too well, left it a bit sort of streaky fine, and went over it again, and he let that dry for a few days, and then he got a piece of hessian or sacking and sort of went all over it like this quickly, and of course what he'd done, he'd rubbed off on all the sort of the highlights, the green, and he'd gone through to the bronze colour underneath, and well, it was an excellent little bronze, wasn't it? So we'll leave the subject of likeable rogues for another time. Okie doke then, well I will bring this video to a close. Hooray! I just thought I'd show you this and get some suggestions. This is a little motor, gearbox, clutch arrangement and a worm drive that came out of one of these recliner chairs. Get your hand out of the way. Well, you can see the principle. The motor goes round and winds the thread up the rod. I don't know, the little mark there that says thrust is not filled in, so I don't know what sort of power they do push out. Anyway, I took an old recliner apart and took the chair down the dump. It's quite interesting that it automatically stops at both ends of the extreme. Not sure how it does it, but very clever. Anyway, any suggestions? Keep it clean. Any suggestions on a use for rise and fall a saw, router, something else? How about a scissor type table that comes up from the floor to lift heavy things? Any suggestions, guys? Too good to throw away, isn't it?